At just 6 years old, JonBenét Ramsey was remembered as a cheerful little girl. She enjoyed school, loved spending time with her family, and occasionally took part in children's pageant competitions, where she won several local titles. But by the end of 1996, her name would be remembered for an entirely different reason. She became the center of one of the most perplexing murder investigations in modern American history. On the morning of the 26th of December, 1996, a 2.5-page ransom note was discovered on the spiral staircase inside the Ramsey family home. Its author claimed to represent a foreign faction, demanded $118,000, and warned that JonBenét would be beheaded if the family contacted the authorities. Despite those instructions, the Ramseys telephoned the police immediately.
911 emergency.
Police.
What's going on?
515th Street.
What's going on there, ma'am?
We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is
Yes.
gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's blonde. 6 years old.
How long ago was this?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Kathy Ramsey, I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been gone?
No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Okay,
Please, there's somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Just a few hours later, JonBenét's father opened the door to a small basement storeroom and found his daughter's body. This is the dossier of how panic during the first crucial hours, procedural complications, and a series of unresolved forensic questions combined to leave one of America's most enduring murder cases unsolved. Before we follow the events of that night, it helps to understand who JonBenét Ramsey was. JonBenét Patricia Ramsey was born in Atlanta, Georgia, on the 6th of August, 1990. Her first name was created by combining her father's first and middle names, JonBenét Ramsey, while her middle name came from her mother, Patricia, better known as Patsy. During JonBenét's first year, the family moved to Boulder, Colorado, where John Ramsey led the technology company Access Graphics. They settled into a Tudor-style home on 15th Street, together with JonBenét's older brother, Burke. By the age of 6, JonBenét was attending High Peaks Elementary School. Teachers described her as polite, confident, hard-working, and well-liked by her classmates. Family members remembered a little girl who loved singing, adored the family's dog, and enjoyed the attention and excitement that naturally came with being 6 years old. Outside school, she also took part in children's pageant competitions, winning several local and national titles. Yet those competitions represented only a small part of her life. Most of her days were spent much like those of any other child her age, going to school, playing with friends, celebrating Christmas with her family, and looking forward to whatever came next. Christmas Day, 1996, passed much as it did for countless other families. The Ramseys spent part of the day with relatives and later attended a dinner gathering at the home of close friends before returning home that evening. The following morning, they planned to fly to Michigan to continue their Christmas holiday. According to John Ramsey, JonBenét fell asleep in the back of the car on the journey home. Rather than wake her, he carried her upstairs and tucked her into bed before the family finished preparing for the trip. Nothing about that evening appeared unusual. It was simply a family winding down after Christmas Day, packing for a holiday, and turning out the lights before an early start the next morning. No one inside that house could have known that it would be the last time JonBenét Ramsey was seen alive by her family. As dawn broke on the 26th of December 1996, Patsy Ramsey woke early to prepare for the family's journey to Michigan. As she made her way down the spiral staircase towards the kitchen, she stopped. Lying on one of the steps were 3 handwritten pages. The note claimed that JonBenét had been kidnapped. It demanded $118,000 and warned the family against contacting the authorities. Patsy immediately ran upstairs to her daughter's bedroom. JonBenét was gone. The note could not have been clearer. It instructed the family not to tell anyone, not friends, not neighbors, and certainly not the police. Yet moments like these rarely leave room for calm decision-making. Faced with an empty bed before dawn, most parents would instinctively reach for the telephone rather than follow instructions left by an unknown writer. Patsy dialed 911 and reported that her daughter was missing. At the bottom of the note appeared 2 final words: Victory, SBTC. Only minutes later, the first responding officer, Rick French, arrived at the Ramsey home. John Ramsey handed him the ransom note, and an initial search of the property began. As Officer French worked his way through the basement, he came to a small wooden door secured by a latch on the outside. Believing it was unlikely that an intruder would have used a room locked in that manner as an escape route, he continued searching elsewhere without opening it. At that stage, the case was being treated as a kidnapping. As additional officers and detectives arrived, the house gradually filled with family friends, relatives, and the family's minister, all hoping to offer support while everyone waited for the kidnappers to make contact. But the call never came. By 1 o'clock that afternoon, the deadline set out in the ransom note had passed in complete silence. With no further communication, one of the detectives asked John Ramsey and family friend Fleet White to carry out another search of the house, this time checking every room from top to bottom. John returned to the basement. He walked back to the small wooden door that had gone unopened earlier that morning. After lifting the latch, he stepped inside the dark wine cellar. There, he found JonBenét. John immediately picked up his daughter and carried her upstairs. From a forensic standpoint, moving a body before it has been documented can seriously compromise a crime scene. But it is also difficult to ignore the human reality of that moment. A father who has just found his 6-year-old daughter is unlikely to think first about preserving evidence. He is far more likely to do what instinct tells him: to hold her. From that moment onwards, the investigation at the Ramsey home was no longer a kidnapping inquiry. It had become a homicide investigation. With JonBenét's body now discovered, attention inevitably returned to the piece of evidence that had set the entire investigation in motion earlier that morning: the ransom note. At 2.5 pages long, it immediately stood out as highly unusual. FBI behavioral analysts observed that in most kidnapping cases, offenders aim to spend as little time as possible inside the victim's home. Here, however, whoever wrote the note had remained long enough to produce an unusually lengthy message. The practical implications were difficult to ignore. The writer had apparently stayed inside a house occupied by 4 people, taken paper and a pen from within the property, and drafted the note before leaving behind the final version. Laboratory examinations later confirmed that both the notepad and the pen had come from inside the Ramsey home. The note demanded $118,000. That figure attracted immediate attention because it closely matched the annual bonus John Ramsey had recently received from his employer. Whether the amount reflected inside knowledge or was simply a coincidence, however, could not be established from the available evidence. Another finding proved equally significant. Forensic testing did not identify usable fingerprints linking any member of the Ramsey family to the ransom note itself. Handwriting comparisons also failed to produce a single agreed conclusion. Some document examiners identified similarities they considered noteworthy. Others concluded that the evidence was insufficient to attribute the note to any particular individual. Rather than narrowing the investigation, the ransom note became one of its most enduring mysteries. With the initial search complete, attention turned to the post-mortem examination. The post-mortem, carried out by the Boulder County Coroner's Office, established JonBenét's cause of death as a combination of asphyxia caused by ligature strangulation and blunt force trauma to the head. The examination revealed a significant fracture beneath the scalp, explaining why the injury was not immediately apparent when her body was first discovered. Around her neck was a nylon cord attached to part of a broken wooden paintbrush handle, forming a ligature. Investigators later established that the broken paintbrush came from an art kit kept inside the Ramsey home. Yet despite detailed forensic examination, the ligature itself yielded no identifiable fingerprints or biological evidence capable of establishing who had made or used it. The post-mortem examination also documented evidence of injury to the genital area. However, examiners found no conclusive biological evidence that would allow them to determine that a conventional sexual assault had taken place. Another finding attracted attention. Pathologists identified fragments of pineapple within JonBenét's digestive tract. The observation was formally recorded as part of the medical findings and would later become one of many details considered during efforts to reconstruct the events leading up to her death. Despite the challenges surrounding the crime scene, forensic specialists were still able to recover a number of biological samples for laboratory examination. One of the most significant came from the underwear JonBenet had been wearing. Laboratory testing identified a bloodstain containing the DNA profile of an unknown male. The profile did not match John Ramsey, Patsy Ramsey, or Burke Ramsey. As forensic technology continued to advance over the following years, the sample was re-examined using increasingly sensitive analytical methods. Each new round of testing continued to identify the same unknown genetic profile, despite the extremely small quantity of biological material available. At the same time, forensic science also recognizes an important limitation. The presence of DNA alone cannot establish how or when it was deposited. Genetic material can be transferred in a variety of ways, including during the manufacturing and packaging of clothing, or through indirect contact before an item is ever worn. Examiners also analyzed the cord, the broken paintbrush, the adhesive tape, and fibers recovered from the house. Although several traces were documented, none of the forensic evidence could conclusively identify who was responsible for JonBenét's death. In major criminal investigations, particularly those involving deaths inside a family home, investigators routinely begin by examining the people closest to the victim. It is a standard process of elimination rather than an assumption of guilt. As the inquiry developed, two principal lines of investigation emerged. On one hand, the ransom note had been written using paper and a pen taken from inside the house, prompting investigators to examine everyone known to have been present there on the night of the killing. On the other, the possibility of an outside intruder remained under consideration. Supporters of that theory pointed to several pieces of physical evidence discussed throughout the investigation, including a broken basement window, unidentified footwear impressions, and the unknown male DNA profile recovered from JonBenét's clothing. As part of standard investigative procedure, all occupants of the household were interviewed and asked to provide handwriting samples and DNA for comparison. Because one of the occupants was a young child, interviews with that individual were conducted using procedures specifically designed for juvenile witnesses. Throughout this process, the investigation unfolded under extraordinary public scrutiny. The family exercised their legal right to be represented by solicitors throughout police interviews and related proceedings, a protection available to any citizen facing a serious criminal investigation. By 1998, the case had been presented to a grand jury, a panel of ordinary citizens responsible for deciding whether the available evidence was sufficient to bring criminal charges. For more than a year, the grand jury reviewed testimony from dozens of witnesses, alongside a vast collection of forensic evidence. Yet in 1999, Boulder District Attorney Alex Hunter chose not to file criminal charges against anyone. From a legal standpoint, the physical evidence was considered insufficient to prove any individual's guilt beyond reasonable doubt before a court. A significant legal development came almost a decade later. In 2008, following advances in touch DNA testing that consistently isolated the same unidentified male genetic profile from JonBenét's clothing, Boulder District Attorney Mary Lacey issued a formal letter of exoneration. The decision officially cleared the victim's immediate family of criminal suspicion based on the evidence available at that time. Legally, no member of the family has ever been charged, convicted, or sentenced in connection with JonBenét's death. In recent years, the Boulder Police Department has continued reviewing the evidence alongside independent specialists and private forensic laboratories. One of the most promising developments is investigative genetic genealogy, a technique that can identify an unknown DNA profile by tracing biological relatives through publicly available family tree databases. Time, however, has moved on. On the 24th of June 2006, Patsy Ramsey died from ovarian cancer at the age of 49, without ever seeing her daughter's case resolved. Behind the thousands of pages of legal documents, one simple truth has never changed. A 6-year-old girl lost her future on the night after Christmas. Memories fade, witnesses grow older, investigators retire. But the genetic evidence recovered from the scene remains exactly as it was. Perhaps the answer that has eluded generations of investigators will not come from a confession or from another witness, but from science itself.